Hi everyone, again nice to meet you if I haven't met you yet. I'm Ansley Sutter, Social Media Training and Communications Coordinator with ForRent Media Solutions. I facilitate all of the social media training that you may come across if you've ever signed up for any of our trainings on our social media training calendar. We train on anything under the social media sun, whether that be Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram. We're having a Vine webinar coming up, which is the new video sharing app. So we're always on the cutting edge as far as anything regarding social media goes. So if you've sat on any of our FR Social reputation management demos, you'll know that much of our product uses the science of sentiment analysis to help decipher if your brand is being perceived in a positive, neutral, or negative light. So we're not going to necessarily talk about the reputation management product so much as we're going to be talking about the application of sentiment analysis to love. Brand love to be exact. We've discussed brand love before, but today we're going to look into how you can win your residents over using sentiment analysis. So before we get started, just one housekeeping tip. On your GoToMeeting panel, you can ask questions during our session. So if you have any questions come up, I'll be sure to get those to you toward the end of the session. So what we'll do now is go ahead and get started with a quick outline of our session today. We will take a look at what your reputation may look like now. We will get into how one analyzes brand sentiment. I'll share some insight on brand love languages that you can use when speaking to your residents and prospects online. I'll show you how you can speak and approach your residents. Coinciding with our love theme, I'll share ways you can and should court your residents and customers, and we'll wrap things up with some valuable links as we always do. So I want to share a video with you really quickly that provides some insight on the why behind this whole reputation management idea. Okay, so after watching that video, it's such a true statement. You need to opt into the opportunity to learn why you need reputation management. And you may be realizing after watching that video that you may be in this boat where this is you. You are not really utilizing reputation management to its best capacity or to its capabilities, but you may be, on the other hand, grateful that your brand is not in this position and you are utilizing reputation management in some form or fashion. So either way, it's still good to know what else reputation management can do for you, especially as far as sentiment analysis goes. So not actively monitoring your reputation is like being the last one invited to the party. It's just you're by yourself. So by the time you arrive to the reputation management party, it may be too late. And this isn't a scare tactic, it's really reality. Why don't you want to be the last person to arrive to the party? It's because people are talking about your brand whether you're cognizant of it or not. It's better to be there early and be part of the conversation rather than late to the party with a tarnished image. People are talking. So you're like, what's the big deal? We can't control what people say. One disgruntled resident is ruining it for all of us. I mean, what can we do really if one just goes and chooses to ruin our reputation by whatever they say? And you know what? That might be the case for some of you, but the power of positive reviews works wonders. The goal is to have more people talking about your brand in a positive light to flush out the negative, okay? So the idea is that no matter the tone, no matter how many negative reviews have been left, brand love grows when a brand is connected to their audience. Last month, we talked about how you can use visual social media to do just that, to connect with your audience. Now, how dependent are we when it comes to sharing information? Well, Digimind and Review Pro studies show that 90% of consumers online trust recommendations from people they know, and 80% of customers have received advice through a social media outlet in regards to which service, product, or to purchase. So mentally raise your hand if you make more sound purchase decisions after consulting your peer group, your friends, or your family. Now, I'm raising my hand because this is nothing new. From the dawn of time, society has had that communal nature that relies on one another's opinions. You know, we are always dependent on what our friends, our peer groups, our parents, you know, other people within our circle are saying, especially when it comes to big purchase decisions. So signing a lease at an apartment community is no exception. The only thing that's changed in the last 10 years is the shift from word of mouth to word of mouth. So we may be still seeking reviews and opinions from our peers, but we're not picking up the phone and asking a handful of people. We now have access to the web, which opens a door of reviews and ratings left by tens of thousands. So your reputation right now is based on word of mouth, and it's what your residents and prospects are saying about you online in forums and ratings and review sites like, you know, Yelp, and industry-specific sites like apartmentratings.com and the like. So again, we are always and will always be dependent on what our inner circle says about anything regarding major purchase decisions. The only thing that's changed is the method in which we're doing it. Rather than more traditional methods of asking someone in person or calling them on the phone and asking a few people, what we're seeing is that we can have resources to an abundance of ratings and reviews of people that have bought a product and are going to give you their honest opinion, and vice versa, people that may rant. So we have ways that we can address both sides. We're part of the age of instant gratification. It says the internet never forgets, and that's so true. You can find what you're looking for right now. You don't have to wait anymore. So in this age of immediate communications, we're seeing that you don't own your brand's image. Your consumers do. And that might be a scary thought. But if you have the right people on your side, if you have a great multitude of brand ambassadors, you want to put your reputation in their hands because those are the people that are going to go out and voluntarily evangelize for your brand without you having to pull dollars out of your pocket. So that's why it's so important to scan the web for any type of conversation about your brand, because that electronic footprint is there whether you acknowledge it or not. I mean, take reputable brands like Burger King and Jeep, for example. They've had a crazy couple of days. In the last few days, these brands were, you know, wholesome brands that we all loved, and then Burger King's Twitter account gets hacked, right? So the hacker replaced the header and profile on their Twitter account with none other than McDonald's branding. That is a complete PR nightmare, if you ask me. And then the next day, Jeep fell victim, and allegedly the same hacker took their branding and replaced it with Cadillacs. Now, I mean, if this isn't brand suicide, I don't know what is. But thankfully, both brands regained control of their login credentials. But this just goes to show that once we've been established online, we have to work very hard to safeguard our brand as best we can and implement a reputation management program that's vital. So again, we always use this quote, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation and only 15 minutes to destroy it. If you think about the time it took to however this hacker got these brand's login credentials to Twitter. It probably took less than 15 minutes to take the images, take that header image and their profile. All of this stuff can be changed in a matter of seconds, which is extremely scary if you think about how many people are following each brand. Again, thankfully, both brands regained control of their Twitter credentials, but it's just a testament to both brands. That was, most people assumed that their accounts had been hacked. That was the first thing people assumed, only because both Burger King and Jeep worked very hard at keeping consistent messaging. So the tweets were uncharacteristics. If you go to their Twitter handles, all of those tweets that we saw while they were hacked are completely taken away. Again, because they want to maintain a certain front and a certain brand reputation, and that was compromised, but they mended that very quickly. I actually saw it happen in real time with Jeep, so that was really interesting to see how they regained control of their Twitter voice. Again, these tweets were uncharacteristic. Most of their brand ambassadors, their fans knew that, so they automatically knew they had been hacked, rather than having to see a brand that you're not so signed on and you're thinking this might be them actually speaking. While we're on the subject of Twitter credentials, now might be a good time to make sure you have hold on who's in possession of your login credentials, because as you can see, it's real out there, people. It doesn't matter how big or little the brand is. A login is a login, and you log in the same way as, Nordstrom would compared to your property. So it doesn't matter how large or small you are. So brands cannot maintain their image and messaging alone. No matter what you think, there's no way you can do it alone. It all takes a team. They just can't. No matter how good your intentions are, they're just not enough. A brand doesn't build its following overnight. You're not gaining new residents out of thin air, are you? There's a major dependence on your brand ambassadors, your residents and prospects, to help spread the message of how great your community is. So last month we talked about crowdsourcing, okay, which gives and involves getting a crowd of people to help you with a task that's used to take one person. So essentially it's building your audience to help you promote your brand. And this isn't paying your residents to leave stellar posts on Yelp, because that's not right. This is asking them to leave an honest, unsolicited review or testimonial on Facebook, on Twitter, on Yelp, even on Instagram. They can take a picture of your property, incorporate a hashtag that you have customized, which is completely easy and free, and you can ask them to share any photos of your property on Instagram using your hashtag. So you can promote your property, and people can leave testimonials across all social channels. So ask yourself, am I the brand who's late to the party, or am I tapping into my resource of brand ambassadors? After all, brand love isn't about seeking your residents and paying them to do something. It's about providing awesome customer service and selling them a lifestyle opposed to a unit. Doesn't that word just make you cringe? It's about becoming worthy of their positive review and 5-star ratings. So what? You're not an A-level property with a state-of-the-art fitness center. Are you timely in answering your maintenance requests? Are you making sure you can improve someone's experience? The amenities are great. Everyone loves a sauna and a 5-star state-of-the-art fitness center, but at the end of the day, your customer service is what is going to carry your reputation through the coals. Your customer service is what is going to make or break your brand. So enough of the lovey-dovey stuff. Let's talk about the science behind sentiment analysis, shall we? Sentiment analysis is using statistics or machine learning methods to extract, identify, and characterize the sentiment content of text. So for you non-robots out there, such as myself, that means that it's the art of scanning a body of text like a resident review and finding words in that review that indicate if someone is, for or against, likes or dislikes something. It's deciphering if the object of review, which might be your property, is good or bad, or etc. So sentiment analysis is based on subjective impressions, not facts. It gauges attitudes, emotions, and opinions, really. And sentiment analysis helps brands like multifamily communities with insights into flame detection, meaning the ability to put out a potential online rant before it turns into a full-blown status. Sentiment analysis helps us gauge consumer perception and, of course, is vital to reputation management. So ultimately, this allows you to collect reviews on a hyper-local, meaning segmented niche market to global scale. So let's face it, brands play the same game we used to in elementary school. They love me not. They love me not. It's the same. Brands go through the same stresses of constantly having to gauge ways they can win and keep their audience's affection. And sentiment analysis is the method of being able to decipher one's attitude or opinion of your brand based, again, on the context clues in that body of messaging, in that text, in that review. So we're not shooting in the dark. Sentiment analysis allows us to be a little bit more directed and targeted. So according to a recent study conducted by Satisfax, the most powerful way to positively impact your audience is to reduce dissatisfaction. It all begins with managing the user experience. How are you managing your residents' user experience today? Are you creating an open dialogue? Are you asking questions? Are you engaging them on your social networks? How do you know if they like you, if they're indifferent, or if they're turned off? Your reputation relies on your audience's level of interest. So you may say your job is not to babysit them, it's to provide a great place to live, which is true. But knowing that 90% of us go to our peers to help us make purchase decisions, what are you doing to keep your name at the tip of your residents' tongues or at their fingertips when they're typing, when their friend asks for a place to live online? You're not being asked to do a song and dance at the drop of a dime, but certainly engaging via your social channels and responding to reviews isn't too much to ask when your reputation is at stake. So this is the process a consumer goes through when establishing love for a brand or product, okay? First, we have this level of indifference where they're like, oh, I'll take it, I might not, I don't really care. A consumer at this stage is unaware and unfamiliar but willing to stick with it because the product or service meets their basic needs. So for a property, this would mean there's no resident investment to stay really and renew another lease unless you take it upon yourself as a property to change that resident's perspective, which brings us to the like it stage. So this is when the product or service becomes a little bit more functional, the consumer really enjoys using it, they can't find anything to complain about and probably would endorse it if the product or service topic came up in passing. They're certainly not going out of their way to promote it just yet. So let's say you're providing great customer service, great quality customer service, which makes your resident love living at your community. So in this case, they are loyal. They are more likely to rally more friends and family to use the product or service because the user experience you're providing is great. So they're in this stage of the Lovett stage. So consistency is key when you continue the cycle of customer service and aim to better your brand. When you do that, you gain lifers. So these are people that are claiming your brand for life. They are not going anywhere. These are the residents who take on ownership of your brand and experience it as an animate part of their lives. These are the properties that are providing a lifestyle rather than a unit. Gross, I hate that word. But they're providing a lifestyle. They're not just selling you, a room size with a certain floor plan. They're selling you so much more than that. Your property has become the hub of information on what's new in your area, what's going on this weekend in the city. You're active on Pinterest. You are active on Facebook and Twitter. Who knows? Your Harlem Shake video may have just gone viral. We can only dream, right? So, but in all seriousness, whatever you're doing is keeping your residents they emphatically know they can't get this type of service and living experience elsewhere. And they will let anyone and everyone know that. So they are emotionally attached and are voluntary brand advocates, which is what you want because that's keeping those dollars in your pocket. These residents will go to bat for you if they come across a review that's not true. And you know the Apple fans that are borderline offended if friends and family are still using PCs or aren't on the iCloud. You need to understand, what is Apple doing to make their consumers feel that level of brand ownership and exclusivity. So these are things you can adopt, and especially apply this brand love curve to help you better gauge how your people, your residents and prospects really appreciate and show affection toward your brand. So where are you in all of this? Where are you on the brand love curve? Could you better kind of gauge where you think people are? And especially, don't think of it this way. You're going to have your audience be on different parts of this brand love curve. That's completely normal. We're human. We're at different stages of brand love. Someone may have just moved into your property out of circumstances, so they're not quite there with the lifers yet, but they may get there. So again, it's completely okay if they're on different parts of this brand love curve. But as long as you know where you stand, that is going to start the process of better being able to manage your reputation. What are you going to do to get to where you want to be? So rather than relying on a flower, they love me not, to determine your audience's sentiment toward your brand, reputation management and sentiment analysis is a great way to pinpoint where on the web you've established a strong brand presence, where you're present and not portrayed accurately, or where you have the opportunity to establish your brand. So across all of these channels, these are still your opportunities to make your brand be able to be found more easily. Knowledge is power, as corny as it sounds. Even if you don't know how to get started monitoring your brand and analyzing sentiment, you have myself, you have the FR Social team at your disposal as an expert customer. So what we're willing to do is we're willing to take as much time as you need to walk you through a reputation management demo. So again, I'm not trying to talk about a product necessarily today, but if this has sparked your interest, definitely get with your representative, get with your AE, and we're happy to take it from there for you. So positive sentiment is gained by being present, ultimately. Give your residents more of you to love by establishing a presence on sites like Yelp, Yahoo Local, Bing Local, Google+, and you have other sites that allow you to establish a listing in just a few clicks. It's very simple. Change your point of view that people are only going to take these sites and go to these sites to find a local restaurant, because that's no longer the case. These are multifunctional channels that allow you to just have that brand exposure and monitor what people are saying about your brand. So how are you speaking to your residents? Brands are coming to terms with putting aside their stiff corporate tone of voice and speaking to consumers the way they'd want to be spoken to. Just like you can use sentiment analysis to gauge a resident's tone of voice in their review, your residents are using the same method to decipher how genuine you are in your messaging. So we're looking at ways for a level of deliverability from brands we love. So we're actively trying to gauge a brand's readiness to respond when we talk about them, meaning the brand has to possess the ability to actively monitor and seek out conversation. We absolutely love when brands engage with us. So make sure you're participating, make sure you're engaged. Now, authenticity is never shunned but celebrated. Sure, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. We see that with brands like the Fresh Market and Whole Foods. They look like the same store on the outside. But when you break down their walls, your brand needs to stand on its own. And lastly, people aren't going to refer to your property to a friend if they can't remember you. Make sure your reputation precedes you in the most positive way, and that's by providing that stellar customer service and great user experience. So as far as deliverability goes, again, just like we are looking for terms of sentiment keywords in our residents' reviews to gauge if it's positive, neutral, or negative, we're looking for the same thing from brands that we like. So it's not that much different. It's not rocket scientist. And any brand and any message they deliver, we're going to be looking for readiness, engagement, authenticity, and a lasting impression. Also, taking accountability never hurt a brand. We're still waiting to see what's in store for Carnival Cruise Lines after the wake of the events from the Triumph catastrophe, and actually one of my friends was on that, and so I got a play-by-play, and it wasn't pretty, as we all see. And you know, rather than Carnival Cruise sticking its head in the sand, no pun intended, it has continued tweeting in real time and releasing event updates as an attempt to control the message and maintain a transparent front. So it's always a good idea when you find yourself dropping the ball on maybe something like a maintenance request or anything like that. Definitely take accountability, and you'll see how fast people's perceptions will change. So when it comes to responding to reviews online, remember, you're talking to both future, current, and past residents, and you don't want to segment one from the other. You don't want to separate one from the other. Both residents and prospects want to feel as though they are being taken care of. That's how we all want to feel when it comes to a brand. Implement in questions that indicate you aim to change and improve their experience with questions like, how can we make your living experience better? What changes would you like to see while living here? And then statements with, you are our sounding board. We need you. These are great ways to make your residents feel invested in the growth of your community, and it's giving them ownership. It's making them stakeholders. So toward the end, I will share a link with you with an article that conveys the power of using you-based statements, which is really great. So this is an example of a review that was posted by a resident on Apartment Ratings. It says, it's good on paper, but once you start living, you realize the truth. The pros: good location, rental is competitive, shuttle bus, gym. The cons: management is worse. Once you pay the deposit, everyone will start ignoring your needs. There are rodents. Water always drips from the roof at the top floor. Parking's hard to find, and the garage is costly. So, I mean, they're not completely slamming this property, but they're trying to be as matter of fact as possible, which you can respect. So this is the response from the property management. Hello, Anonymous. Thank you for taking time out of your day to share both your positive and unfavorable experience while living here. So we're going to stop right here. You're seeing that they're stating that they're recognizing the sentiment in this post. We appreciate you taking the time to share both your positive and unfavorable experiences while living here. Going forward, we appreciate you sharing your concerns, as this is where we can evaluate items mentioned, such as maintenance issues, pests, parking, and staff. So again, what they're doing is not super high level. They're literally regurgitating and repeating what this person is stating are issues: maintenance issues, pests, parking, and staff. What they're saying is they're taking accountability, which is part of that deliverability scale, which is we can evaluate items mentioned. Okay, going forward, we value your opinion. So you statements, we value your opinion, and I will be sure to address your concerns with our community management team. Please remember that the community management team has an open door policy and asks that all concerns be addressed in person, so that we can expedite any services needed to make your stay at so-and-so property feel more like your home. Ownership. Thanks again for your comments. Please feel free to call me at your earliest convenience so that I may assist you with your concerns and service requests at so-and-so number. Email us. Have a wonderful week. Okay, so I think this is a great response. You can tell that the property manager had all emotions removed from this post. He or she has acknowledged both positive and negative sentiments made at the beginning. He or she says these issues will be evaluated, so there's that readiness in the tone of voice. They're not just saying thank you, and they don't keep it moving. They are repeating the exact complaints that this person has. He or she has reinforced that although the review was appreciated, the property has that open door policy which allows a more expedited process. So we are also seeing that no matter what this person is posting, initially that they're stating that we have this open door policy. So what that is doing is indirectly, whenever a prospect comes across this post, they're going to see that there's an open door policy, which is, I mean, if I were in that position, if I were a prospect, no matter what this post says, I'm going to be signing on to the fact that, hey, if I ever have a complaint, they're actually going to respond to me. You see that this post was posted January 17th and only responded to just a matter of days later. So there's that expediency there. So going forward, there's no need to be afraid to respond to reviews posted about your community. As long as you have that all-around tone of authenticity and you are delivering at least 2 or 3 pieces within the deliverability, no matter if it's a positive, neutral, or negative post, as long as you can include a tone of readiness, engagement, authenticity, and accountability, your message will be delivered clearly. So we had a question. I'm going to go ahead and visit a couple questions because they pertain to this post. One says, my property manager does not want me responding to complaints and bad reviews online because she says that it can just go back and forth. Great question. We have this a lot. And one thing I can say to this is if your resident has not gotten the message after you send a post like this, the best option is to take it offline. And this property manager saw that coming, so they went ahead and said if there's anything else you might need, they provided a phone number, they provided an email address. They said, call me at your earliest convenience. They are opening that door for that person to opt in to contact them behind the scenes if need be. More than likely, you're going to realize that if you address, they just want to be heard. This prospect or this resident just wanted to be heard. So as long as you address everything that they're voicing, more than likely they're not going to contact you because you have sufficed, you have satisfied what they are looking for, what they needed was what was to be heard. Okay, so we're going to move forward, and I'm going to go ahead and answer some more questions as they come up. Most of these questions can be answered toward the end. Another piece of feedback we had was, I'm thinking of how good this influences SEO. This could influence SEO. So again, this could influence SEO if you're wanting to do that. You can definitely post certain keywords that will help in Google search. But for the most part, what you really want to do other than SEO is in response to your posts, you want that person to acknowledge the fact or feel like they've been heard. Okay, so what we're going to talk about next is how you can court your customer. So we know how to speak in a tone of voice that promotes brand love. So what you're going to do is you're always going to be in the stage of courting your residents. I heard one thing, I'm only, a little bit over a year married, but I'm sure that most of us who are married have heard this term that you should always court your spouse. You should never act like you're completely married because then you'll let yourself go, right? So you're always wanting to pretend or be in the mind frame that you're dating still. And that's the same case with your residents and prospects. You want to keep the spark alive, just like in any relationship. If you're not doing things to try to keep the brand to resident bond active and new and engaging, more than likely your resident will grow bored. So you should always be in a state of mind where you're trying to learn more about your residents. That's exactly how it goes with any other relationships in life. So this is not exempt. We're not exempt in our multifamily housing category industry. This starts with monitoring your conversations online, observing the likes and dislikes of your residents and prospects, and inserting yourself into the conversation rather than being late to the party. The next generation of renters and residents is right around the corner, and trust me, they are glued to at least several smart devices at a time, which is why we are always about creating a brand presence on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Vine. This is why we always try to push you guys making the shift to being more embracing of social media, because this is where your residents and prospects are. They're just waiting for you to connect with them. They're your captive audience. In order to court your residents and get to know them better, you have to ask. You just have to. This means getting those testimonials so that they can live online and help boost your reputation. It's great when you ask for testimonials, but if you're the only one in possession of them, what good are they doing for you? They need to be somewhere where people that are not your residents, meaning prospects, are seeing those testimonials. That's what testimonials do for you. You don't keep them in a keepsake box and just look at them from time to time to make you have the warm and fuzzies. No, you post them in places where people that are not your residents are going to see so that they can become your residents. Online research firms that conduct studies on the effectiveness of testimonials find that products or services with 5+ star reviews or 5-star reviews have a 75% higher conversion than those without reviews. Just stew on that for a moment, will you? This is real, and you have to ask. So I came across this post on Lisa Trojan's Facebook page and instantly knew I had to share it with you guys. So I always go to her page because she always has the greatest little tidbits and apps to share. And one of those is Next Local. It's a free app designed to help you create micro testimonials for sharing on your social networks like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. Genius, right? I mean, it's like one of those moments where you're like, why didn't I think of that? I have those all the time, but seems to never work out for me. So these are called instamonials because they're instant, which is so clever. We're always making up new terms in the social media realm. And instamonials is one of those. It's just getting that, it's that whole nowism type thing where you can have it right now. You can even add photos to go with the voiceover in this instamonial, which is great. So think about how dynamically this is going to impact our industry if we start using it. If you're entertaining the thought of using it, please be sure to let me know how it works. I would love to see how it works out in the field where you guys are. So I'll share the link to this link toward the end, but it's on the Apple Store. I'm not quite sure if it's open to all smart devices. I know for right now it's open to iPhone users. But any of you guys with Androids, let me know if it's available for you, but it's on the Apple Store. I'll share the link with you in just a few. Another great way to court your residents is residence events are always a great way to get to know people. It's almost like kind of like speed dating without them knowing that it's speed dating. So here's an example of how a property in DC, Park Place, they threw a swanky grand opening to introduce themselves to the area. So this is almost like a first date, but you see that they pulled out all the stops. So this would be a great way and a great venue to whip out that Next Local app. You know, you could use it to walk around and get as many instamonials as you might need. And just to share some numbers as to how impactful this event was, 4 leases were signed during the party. 48 appointments were set during the party, meaning, you know, walkthroughs and tours. Traffic increased by 20% for 6 weeks after this event, and 36 leases were attributed to the event. Okay, so if that doesn't blow your mind as far as how effective resident events are, I really don't know what is. So events like this work wonders, and you can always adopt these examples and apply them to your brand, and then you can scale them according to how your budget. I mean, who knows? You might have the budget to roll out all the stops and have a bartender and whatnot. If you don't, that's fine. You can really scale it down to how big or large or small your budget is. Okay, so here's an example of the power of Pinterest and how you can't be timid when you're courting your residents. You can't wait for them. It's just that type of world where we have to kind of nudge our way into conversations. Pinterest is a great way to do that. A property pinned this DIY jewelry hanger, and I think it was the Grove in Florida, I believe. And instantly, you see people engaging and commenting. So not only were there 8 comments, they received almost 3,000 repins and 214 likes, which is just again another great way to get that brand exposure and introduce yourself and be a part of the conversation rather than waiting. So we always come to this stage of application, right? We always give you things as far as how you can apply this today. What can you do with this information we've talked about? So to start, it all comes back to investing in your channels of communication. We cannot harp on that enough. These include ratings and review sites. The FR Social product, Reputation Management, was built to do just that for you, which allows you to free up some of your time. So next, you are savvy. Once you're savvy with your social channels, and if you're not savvy, again, you have myself and the FR Social team here at your disposal to help train you on all of these channels we've talked about today. Once you are at that point, you need to insert your brand into the conversation. Again, don't wait to be invited. People are talking. Talk with them rather than having them talk about you and you don't have any control. Lastly, use those love language tips. This will ensure your residents that you care about them and you care about their living experience and their level of satisfaction, which puts them at the ownership category on that brand love curve we talked about. Puts them at the very bottom where you're their brand for life, which makes them, again, voluntary brand ambassadors. So remember, there's a party going on online, and it's not stopping. It's going till the break of dawn, but you don't want your reputation to be the last one to show up. So as promised, we have some valuable links to articles that can help you implement all of these ideas we shared with you today. These links will help shed some light on articles we posted on the Your Solutions blog. We have some links. I'm chatting them with you right now. We have some links to that you-based article, that you-based phrase article. We have a great article by Brent Williams of Multifamily Insiders. Again, we have the link to the Next Local app on the Apple Store. So while everyone is copying and pasting these links, or you're writing them down, I've shortened them for you. I'm going to answer a few questions that came in. One question came in that asks, how can we improve old Yelp comments that are over 2 years old? New management, better service. Okay, so a question that we had is, and this isn't the case with just Yelp, this is the case with, like Yahoo or other sites. What you can do is not ignore that. A lot of people think that if a review didn't come in within the last year, then it's old news. Guess what? It's not old news, because a prospect Googling your product, Googling your brand, Googling your property is going to come across that review. And they're going to see that it was unanswered. So it doesn't matter what time it was left. As far as I'm concerned, the more expedient a response, the better. But it's fine. If you didn't come across that and you were super busy and you didn't come across that for the last 2 years, it's still important to respond to it, because even though that resident may have come and gone, a prospect is still seeing that, and that's what's more important than a resident lost is a prospect gained. Let me see if we have some other questions. Okay, so we have another question or a statement. When I find I respond to negative reviews with good solution, it opens up a door to a lot of residents bringing up things they want changed because they see that we respond. Not many positive comments, just a negative that see us respond to another negative comment. All right, so that happens a lot as well. And the thing is, you might think you might be opening a can of worms, but if you think about it, it's really like that resident having that aha moment, or like, oh, they're actually responding. And of course, once they see you responding, they're going to jump on that. Honestly, I would just invest the time in responding to all of those. Again, if you use those features or those tips I shared in that deliverability slide where it said you have to have that level of readiness, engagement, authenticity, accountability, and leaving an impression, the point of responding to a review is not to fix the problem, because that problem may not be, number one, someone might not be telling the truth. Number two, it might take a little bit longer. The point of leaving a response to a review is to acknowledge that resident or prospect and let them know that you hear them. Then it's best to take it offline if it's a little bit more extensive. That would be my answer. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the time to put us at a stop here. I wanted to keep it a little bit shorter than last month's. And I appreciate you hanging out with me for this session. But again, what I'm going to do is just take it to a stop here. I see some more questions coming in, and I will respond to each of your questions via email. I am happy to do that. But we're going to put it at a stop here. Again, what the point of this session was is to show how you can use sentiment analysis to gain brand love. Again, it's not about soliciting reviews and ratings and paying people. Your quality of customer service will speak for itself. And you'll be so surprised as to how you can gain brand ambassadors by crowdsourcing and using your social channels and using the right tone of voice and that tone of brand love and love languages and courting your residents. And you'll be right here. Your brand will be loved. So on that note, I'm going to stop it here. I appreciate your time, everyone. On behalf of ForRent Media Solutions, I'm Ansley Sutter. Thank you for your time, and I will get to all of these questions via email. Have a great day, everyone.